Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the Rocket Mortgage Classic, and this is my Before the Lock show, where I go over everything from ownership projections, weather, my fades, my value plays, everything you need to know to have the optimal DFS lineup, and also maybe give you some more ideas on some guys you might want to bet on. And you'll see this guy over to the right there. You're probably wondering, who is this guy holding the steering wheel? That is Mito Pereira. Actually, he was not on my radar. I'm going to talk quite a bit about him and why you might want to consider him for your DFS or even from a betting perspective. So stick with me. Thank you for stopping by, and let's get into this. Okay, first off, let's talk about my giveaway. Yes, I'm giving away some money, and this is for the Open, the tournament that is coming up in a couple weeks, of course, at Royal St. George's. And the entry that I'm going to be covering for you is the $100 entry into the Millie Maker. Gives you a little better opportunity to actually make some money. And also, all you need to do to enter for this contest is really easy. Just click the like button. And if you're not a subscriber, click the subscribe button. And just tell me below in the YouTube comments who you think is going to win the Open. I will randomly select 5 winners, and then I will announce them on my preview show on July 12th for the Open. I also will contact you via YouTube comments and let you know, hey, you're a winner. So definitely get your entries in. Subscribe if you've not subscribed. And again, thank you for all your support and stopping by. Hopefully, I'm going to be able to give you guys the edge this weekend. And if you missed any of my previous shows for the Rocket Mortgage, in short, through my analysis, I always pick comparable courses. This one more, I'm leaning not so much how the course plays, but just as in how the course typically scores. Looking for courses that give up low numbers, and here's some that we're going to be looking at when I'm picking you guys: the Wyndham, the Amex, the Century Tournaments, Mayakoba, OHL, Shriners, Byron Nelson, John Deere, and of course the Waste Management. All those courses typically guys will score lower 20s up in the upper teens, and so I think it's good to see how they done because that's what we're predicting and what we're expecting as usual here. Somewhere above 20 under is going to win this tournament. Okay, with that said, let's go jump into a bunch of the analysis, your ownership projections, and get you the info you need. Okay, so before I forget, let's talk about the guy that was on the cover screen when you joined this little YouTube show. And his name is Mito Pereira. He is from Chile, played at Texas Tech. He actually is good friends with Joaquin Niemann. Will be playing in the Olympics along with Joaquin. And actually, I guess from my understanding, he actually has a room set up for him at his house in Jupiter with Joaquin. So I guess he mentioned that he will be also purchasing a home around that area. But long story short, this guy has won 3 tournaments at the Korn Ferry. That's where he's coming out of. He's also played 1 PGA tournament, the Puerto Rico, which he did not make the cut. But he's won his last 2 tournaments on the Korn Ferry. He's been playing excellent golf. He can go low, and my thoughts are this course is a lot like what you play on the Korn Ferry, even for the college guys that are playing, like the Austin Eckroat. I think he could do very well here, and really how he came on my radar, because he's not in Fantasy National. Of course, he's on DFS for DraftKings. I think he's priced at $7,000 even. I think if you play him in Showdown, he's at $7,200. But long story short, I wanted to just give you some quick information on this guy, get him on your radar, and he might be somebody that you want to look at. So this is pulling Korn Ferry stats because literally he's got like 1 tournament on the PGA. And as I mentioned, he won 3 tournaments this season, which then ultimately just promotes you right to the PGA. This is his first true PGA event as a PGA member. You'll see that he's got the driving distance, 51 ranked out of the Korn Ferry Tour. He's got pretty good accuracy. The guy hits greens and reg up to almost 73%. The guy also averages about 4.25 birdies, which that's what we're going to want. And then I also down here, bear with me, I believe I have, so this is his kind of what he's done. So I mentioned that he won. So I guess technically that was in, but I'm guessing it's the beginning of the season in February of 20. I guess it's starting or including it as part of the 2021 season. He won here at the Country Club de Bogota Championship. He was a winner. You can see a 64, 65. I'm more focused on what he is doing recently. So within June, he's won back-to-back tournaments, as I mentioned. He won the Rex Hospital Open, shot a 62, then a bunch of 67s, and then his BMW Charity Pro-Am. That's what that picture was from. He had a 63 low round, a 64. Long story short, I'm again just saying, and he shot 27 under, 21 under. This guy can go low. I'm not saying, of course, that he is, cream of the crop PGA player he's going to be, but we also saw what happened with Guido Miglizzoli, or however you pronounce his last name. He came on from the European Tour with a couple wins there, and kind of took us by storm, and we weren't on the radar. Like I said, this guy only popped on my radar because of watching the pressers. You can see his presser is pretty short, but I'm going to be rostering him definitely in my DFS lineups. I've already got him in some bets. Funny enough, his odds aren't that amazing. I think he's like 100 to 1 or something like that, where you would think this guy would be. So Vegas and the bookies definitely, I guess, are also hip to this guy. But just so you know, it might be a guy you want to play. All right. With that said, let's go to ownership projections. And I can't even, if I even type him in here, as I said on Fantasy National, he is not coming up. Even though there's some Corn Ferry information on here, he's not being pulled in the field. And I don't know if he got bumped in because of the withdrawals. I don't know, on the replacements, but just so you guys know, if you are kind of still working on building your lineups but haven't been over to DraftKings, you will notice that Charlie Hoffman, which was one of my picks, has withdrawn for the tournament. You also got EVR, Eric Van Rooyen has withdrawn, Luke List, and Jim Noss. I would say, Luke List and Hoffman are the two that, that I was probably going to play. But just so if you are still building in a bubble and doing all your analysis, save your time on those guys because they have withdrawn. I believe that bumped in Peter Uihlein, but I don't think Mito, I don't know if he got in on one of those withdrawals or he was already the ability because he became a PGA member. Not really sure. Okay, enough said. We go look at ownership projections, and just so everybody knows, if you are new here, this is coming out of Fantasy National Golf, and this is a tool that does a ton of analysis, and I highly recommend it. I'm not affiliated, but I've been using it for a long time and enjoy it. And if we look right now, no shocker, you got DeChambeau at almost 30% ownership right now, 27.8. And how this number comes together is guys like me, you can, do all your analysis, you can pick your favorites, and then it populates this into like a lineup generator, and then you can do your mass multi-entries if you do that. You can see probably on the top kind of 4 or 5 guys, you got Will Z coming at 12%, one of the lower owned. I think that, is a bit of recent form guys are seeing. Also, the putter has been a little suspicious, but, I didn't pick Will Z, but due to I lost Hoffman, I probably would make him one of my picks. So someone that, especially from differentiation and getting you a little unique on your lineup, I don't see any reason why Will Z, except for the putter, couldn't be very live here. Your next highest is Kokrak, which no shocker. Again, I mentioned before I did anything. Once I saw he was in the field here, I was already on him, as everybody else pretty much is. Matthew Wolf's coming in at 13%. And there's Hoffman with a withdrawal. That's funny that just popped up because I guess because I refreshed because it was not showing up earlier. You got Max Homa. So, Max has kind of been boom or bust, right? Either he's missing cuts or he's, top 10s and winning tournaments. So good from an outright bet. He's not in a lot of my lineups from a DFS perspective. But, if he gets a hot putter, as I said, it's just going to be a putting contest. I like Eric Higo. He is one of my picks. I think he can do very well here. Phil Mickelson, and I think I mentioned this, was actually I was looking at as being one of my top 15. I just think from a scoring perspective, Phil can't get in too much trouble with the tee shot here, and he's got a good short game. It's really, again, what's going to happen with the putter. But if he gets a hot putter, I think he could be, from a scoring perspective, very live. Doc Redman, 13%. A lot of that's due to his past experience, and also what he does. Typically on shorter courses, he can get pretty hot. Showed that when they were doing the kind of, I call it the Island Swing Tour early on in the year. Just going through if I see anything else that really stands up. Mad McNeely was one of my picks last week, my top 15. Also, could do very well here. Likes the smaller green courses. Of course, has good showings on the West Coast. Didn't have a terrible showing at the Travelers. If I remember correctly, I think he came out with a good Thursday, maybe a rougher, nothing really great on the weekend. Did make the cut. Funny enough, Kramer Hickok, I'm kind of shocked. I was thinking he'd be a little chalky after what everybody got to see on how well he hit the driver and how hot his putter was. Now, a lot of it was done with the putter. And maybe these guys, whoever's doing these, their own picks, are kind of with me on a real heavily on approach and putting, because his irons and approaches where, he's not the sharpest. Good off the tee. And as we saw, can get very hot with the putter. Okay, EVR I mentioned was withdrawn. Luke List is withdrawn. Mark Hubbard, some people are liking down there. Hank Laboda, of course, he had that good showing here recently and been playing pretty good golf, so I can understand that. Just kind of scrolling down for you guys to see if there's anything else that kind of pops up. You know, Rory Sabatini, if you're trying to differentiate, I don't think he's a bad play here now. Off the top of my head, I think he had a good finish the first year of 2019. I believe he missed a cut in 2020. I think I even have him something to talk about in the value play, so we can look at him. You know, Richie, again, if you're trying to get some differentiate, again, no reason why Richie Werenski can't do well here. I think it's just, you know, if you're going with that bomber mentality, you know, but I think any sort of player could do well here. I don't think he has to be a bomber. Same with Tom Hoagie. He can get hot, definitely from a showdown play. Adam Long, I think I've got him to mention. Just see if anybody else below here. Vaughn Taylor, someone that I like. The Shankster. John Pock, of course, the phenom out of college, but really hasn't shown a whole lot on the PGA Tour so far. I think if you're gonna, you know, let's see, John Pock. Yeah, I mean he's quite a bit cheaper than the guy that I'm promoting, trying to sell you, that Mito Piera. That's about it. So that just gives you an idea from an ownership perspective. You know, where these guys are coming in right now. So if you're trying to look for some differentiation, you know, pretty much as you saw, the main bulk of the ownership, you got a bit here within the 8,000 range. That's pretty heavy. Tringali, a guy that I like, I think was one of my picks, the top 15. And then, of course, you know, so it's very heavily weighted. And then it gets pretty thinned out. So pretty much after you drop, I'd say the mid 7s. So the guys that we're going to talk about right now, you know, ownership is lighter, except on some guys. Okay, so let's go into the guys. So as typical, I picked about 15 guys I'm going to show and talk about. Really focus on 5. And I think I saw Ryan Armour, you know, he had a little, I think it was higher ownership than this. But, of course, he's done here, if I remember, he's done well here in the past. I had a T4 last year, 2020, 2019, that. You know, it's been showing pretty well here recently. And so I think that's getting people on. Of course, the putter. He's ranked 22nd out of this field. Approach is about 48th. And again, just so you understand, the information that you're looking at is being pulled from the last 12 rounds on this model, which is kind of like a mini model. This one here you're seeing is kind of a bigger model that shows up. And then this is kind of what he's been doing over the last 24 rounds from a birdie perspective. So you can see here, starting to incline on, you know, how many birdies he's having on average per round. But the guy that I'm going to focus on, and again, you guys that are my subscribe base are probably going to, you know, puke a little bit in your mouth, but I am still going to stick with Patty Kodaira. This, if you look at the 2 courses, Charles Schwab at the Colonial, and then, of course, we had TPC Craig Ranch for Byron Nelson. He really shined. I'm not saying, I mean, the Memorial's a little tougher for him. He could have also done well at both of these. But you can see still from a birdie perspective, the guy is just crushing it. Great putter. You know, the approach has been decent. If we go pop on to Patty, and let's go just kind of see a little bit of information. So Poa is not his best putting surface over his life, but I'm not too concerned with that. I think the Rocket, so he's had miscuts both times here, so that should get some people off him. Of course, at the Wyndham, his best showing was a 13th and a 51st. Again, that's a good comparable course from a scoring perspective. We look at the Amex, nothing great. 53rd recently, a couple miscuts and a couple 40, 50 finishes. See, TOC, Tournament of Champions, when he's made it. And again, as I mentioned yesterday, this is out of typically around 40 guys, depending on how many tournaments there was that season. He's ended up 8th and 15th. And that was in 2009 to 2008. So, again, a course that you can go low on at Kapalua. We look at Mayakoba OHL. He's actually won there back in 2017 and made the cut every time. Let's look at Shriners. He's done well at TPC Scottsdale. He's had a 2nd, a 4th, recently a 24th. The Nelson I just mentioned, he had a 3rd place recently here. The Deer, an 18th, and in 2018, a 30th and a 25th. And at Waste Management, best showing was a 31st. Recently had a 50th. So I know that we've been riding this Patty Kodaira train. This will probably be the last tournament that I will, if he doesn't do well this one, I will finally quit him. That's for me. You guys are going to have to figure out what you want to do with him, but I'm going to give him one more shot. I believe I even bet him like first round leader. I might even put a bet on him for outright winner. Just again, I just know that the guy can get in Fuego. But maybe we had our run here. At Charles Schwab and Nelson, and it's not going to keep on trucking. All right, Sebastian Munoz, a guy that I always like to play. I've talked about him quite a bit on the shows. He hasn't been producing amazingly. Of course, he had that T3 at the Charles Schwab. A lot of that was done with the putter. I think he gained like 10 strokes. So you can see his birdie average per round has been kind of slack a little bit. But the guy's still a pretty strong putter. Pretty good tee to green. Let's just go look at, so you can see POA is his best putting surface over his career. You can see approaching around the greens where he's been struggling, of course, off the tee and the putter. Now it's kind of the, areas that I am kind of mainly focusing. He had this nice run gaining. He's kind of slacked a little bit here recently with the putter. I mentioned to Charles Schwab, he went in Fuego with the putter. The Valero, he also had a good showing, gained across the board. So, we get something like that. He could be very live. But again, I like to play him in this kind of format, this kind of course. Again, like Patty Kodaira, he's had a couple of miscuts here in the past, but again, you got to go low. If you don't, it's a lot like Shriners. If you don't shoot 5-4 under here, you're not going to make the cut. You could play decent golf and not make the cut here. What about the Wyndham? Nothing great. A 74th, a 48th, and a miscut. What about the Amex? And I'll tell you guys straight up, I'm looking at some of these comparable courses for the first time against these guys. I'm picking them on everything that I know from, what they can do and go low. So this is going to just kind of either re-verify for me. If I see something just glaring, I will probably maybe make a change. But right now I'm sticking with these guys. Tournament of Champions. He's made it their last 2 years, 17th to the 17th. So that's pretty good. I mean, that's top 50% out of that field, which is a pretty elite field. OHL, nothing to write home about there. Shriners. Recently had a 27th, a miscut, and a 41st, but that 27th is pretty good. The Byron Nelson, he had a 10th there previously, but recently had a 55th and a 50th. And also those are different courses, just so you guys know. As I mentioned, this was, where they blanking, but this was TPC Craig Ranch. And this might be Trinity Forest. Let me see. Yeah, it was Trinity Forest the previous year. But, I mean, both pretty simple courses. And last, let's see, John Deere, a 37th in 2019, miscut previous, and Waste Management, miscut recently in a 47th. So, again, when we're down here, you're going to have some positive. No one's going to be a slam dunk. Cameron Davis, man, I used to love to play some Cameron Davis, but it's just been kind of rough. You can see miscut last 2 times here. Still making some birdies, but he just has those blow-up holes. But you can see from a putter and a driver, it's a good show. It's just the approach. So if he gets back with the irons, he could be very live. And like I said, just so you guys know, I'll sprinkle some of these guys in. It's just they're not going to be in my core group from a DFS perspective. Hank Laboda, been playing great golf. You can see her, just making cuts. Had a T5 recently, a T13 at Valspar, ranking 5th on my putter. From putting stat, he's doing everything well that I was looking at. Just the birdies is just not enough there for me. Of course, you see this uptick here recently from the Travelers. But, good play. My overall model's ranking him 8. So, definitely can understand. You can see his ownership's at 10% almost. So, I'm not the only one. You can see Cameron Davis is almost at 11. Troy Merritt's a guy that I'm looking at. He's just been playing solid golf. Now, he doesn't have the length, but he has been ridiculously with the putter lately. And so you can see that ranking 7th. Approach is a little suspicious. And you could, like I said, either or these guys, you could swap in and out. I just like the birdie ratio a little better. Also, I like this where he's ranked 22nd on this. And this, I think a lot of the shots coming in are going to be somewhere between 100 and 125 plus 125 to 150. We'll go look at Troy and just see how he's done at some of the comparables. So POA is also his best putting surface. That was something that interested me. We look at the Rocket. He had an 8th last year, miscuts previously. The Wyndham, his best finish was a 28th, but recently a 59th. What about the Amex? Miscut recently. Doesn't do too well there. 68th and a 48th, so nothing to write home at all about that. Tournament of Champions. When he did make it, he had a 16th and an 18th. Again, that's Kapalua. OHL, Mayakoba, you had a 40th recently, a miscut before that back in 2017. How do you do with Shriners? TPC Scottsdale, nothing great. A 43rd, so the recent performances best showing there. What about the Nelson? So recently at the Byron Nelson, he had that 7th. You can see gaining 3 strokes with the putter, gained on approach, gained off the tee. Like I said, big, tall, lanky guy, but he doesn't hit it that far. He's just pretty accurate, around 280 off the tee, I would say, on average. Deer, miscut. That was back in 2019. They didn't play the event in 2020, but that is, I believe, the next event coming up on the schedule is the John Deere. 43rd is 60th. He had a 20th way back in 2014. And last but not least, Waste Management, miscut, but he had 24. So this is a little more on recent form, what he's been doing. Hopefully he keeps that. Bryce Garnett, another guy I was looking at, you can see just he's ranked number 1 in the field with the putter. He had that good showing at the Travelers. You know, he gets his birdie or better opportunities, but you can just see converting them, you know, nothing to write home about. So that's the reason why I'm out on Bryce. Joel Damon, right, of course, won, I believe it was that Corrales? Now why am I forgetting? I know it was a coastal course. I think it was Corrales. One of the altar, yeah, Corrales, he won. So recent win, you know, it's all about the putter with him, as you can see. Not ranked very high at all, but a good on approach. He can get a little wayward. He's not long, but he can get a little wayward off the tee, but not too concerned. But you can see the guy makes birdies. So not a bad showdown play. And, you know, from a point perspective, you know, I think I mentioned Rory Sabatini. You know, not the greatest form, but had that T3 here back in 2019. So it's the same with him. If the putter gets hot, he can go, but you can just see nothing too great on birdies gained over the last 24 rounds. Scott Piercy actually shows up real well. The only area, of course, is the putter, but out of this field, you can see on approach over the last, 12 rounds, you know, killing it in all the areas that I was looking at, just, you know, and make it a little better showing here. He's finally at least in the green and the birdies per round. But you see kind of a crazy, you know, a cut, a DQ, a cut, a T19. So very volatile, but, you know, could be a game changer. The guy that I'm going to lead on, who made me some money last week with a first round leader with Kramer Hickok, Satoshi Kodaira. I mean, the guy's been, you know, seems like he's had like 3 good rounds and then 1. I mean, at the Travelers, he had a first good round and nothing. But I mean, if you look over where he was doing this kind of T11, T13, T19s, the guy was putting 60s on the board. You can see his putter has caused this birdie rate to go up. You know, he's getting the opportunities, not bad on approach, you know, nothing to say about distance, but, you know, your standard pro is going to hit it 280. And I think there was a comment made by another, you know, golf industry guy about, you know, how much rollout that this course at the Detroit Golf Club allows. And that was true in the past. That is not going to be true this week. Just heads up. I already mentioned we've got a ton of rain here, and it is going to be wet and soggy. I think we're supposed to get some more rain. So I don't see all that rollout. Now, how quick the course dries out, what the weather does, we're going to talk about weather, but I don't think it's not going to be running like it has been. They're not going to be getting 30, 40 yards of extra distance off the tee. So, you know, just side note, but that I'm not super concerned. It's not a long course. All these guys that we're talking about, you know, on average hit it around 280, which is going to turn these, you know, 400-yard holes into nothing. If we go click on Satoshi, just go look at some of his. So POA is his best putting surface over his life. You can see this trend is kind of crazy. He's got an uptick here lately. But when Satoshi came out of Japan, he was regarded as going to be like, I don't say the next Tiger Woods, but this guy had big expectations. He won at the RBC. When was that win? It was a while ago. Back here in 2018, and then really hasn't done a whole lot since, but just recently been playing really good golf. You can see, you know, the Travelers, you can see got a little off, but he was firing on all cylinders except, you know, maybe around the green. You can also see the putter. It's been super hot, and that's scary. You know, it doesn't bother me when you see green all here, but when you see all red and just, you know, green there, that's a problem. You can't sustain that. But if he just gains, you know, 2-3 strokes, but it can get a little better off the tee and approach, I think he's going to be fine here. All right, let's go take a look. So the Rocket only played here once the first time, missed the cut. That was back then. The Wyndham, a couple missed cuts, and probably I'm guessing a lot of these are probably not going to look very good because, like I said, it's just been more of a recent form. Had a 32nd at the Tournament of Champions when he made it. OHL. Recently had a 40th. Shriners. Miscut. What about the Nelson? Had a 13th. We already know that recently. The John Deere. That had been a while ago because they didn't play that last year. And Waste Management. Recently had a 61st. So this is definitely going on some recent form and hoping that he can keep that recent form. But that's going to be one of my top guys in my value plays. Danny Lee, kind of not a bad play. He can get streaky. He can put 3 or 4 birdies together, get you that consecutive birdie bonus. But he can also throw 3 or 4 bogeys together. Nothing amazing off the tee from length, but he's pretty steady, good on approach. He gets his birdie opportunities, and he's not bad from 125, 150 in. The next guy that I'm going to dive a little deeper in is Vaughn Taylor. You can see from a birdie perspective, and Vaughn's been playing on the tour for quite a while, but he won me a T10. Where was that at? It's not even showing up here, but played here once, had a T46, had a T18 at the Memorial, definitely at Muirfield, definitely a way tougher course, but also some miscuts. But you can see the putter, he's up there on approach and putting. That's kind of the 2 main stroke gain areas that I'm looking for. Ranks number 1 from this 125 to 150. He's not long at all off the tee, but I'm not concerned with that, even if with the mushy grounds. He does gain on POA. See here. And you can see off the tee, very rare that he's going to gain anything. It's if he has that putter where he's gaining, 3-4 strokes on the field. Let's go see his comparables. I already showed you the Rocket. The Wyndham. Best showing was a 39th. That had been 2019. About the Amex. So he's had a 10th way back, a 7th recently. Well, when I say recently, 2019, the most recent was a 60th. Tournament of Champions, 24th. What about OHL? He's had a 2nd in 2019, miscut in 2020. What about the Nelson? Had a 17th and a 59th with some miscuts and recently miscut. What about the Deere? So John Deere, last time it was played, he had a 6th place. And the Waste Management, miscuts for the recent years, but had an 11th and a 7th a while back. So, again, this is a little more, I'm going on recent form. And just, again, I'm looking for guys that can score. Vaughn Taylor, or take it low, and he can. Then the last 2 guys I'm just noting that are, solid plays. You got Vincent Whaley. You can see from a birdie perspective doing well. Kind of, medium against the field. I guess driving distance, he's got a little more distance than some of these guys. Gets his birdie or better opportunities. Had a couple miscuts recently, but had some good showings before that. He was kind of that condom play for a while. You know what? I'm just curious. I did not do this. Let's just go look at his comparables. So he does barely gain on POA over his career. You can see the spike in his stroke gain over the last, year. Let's go look at some of his. So the Rocket, miscut last year. What about the Wyndham? Had a 37th. What about the Amex? 29th, but that was a while ago. Miscut recently. TOC, so he's never won a tournament. OHL, 23rd recently. What about Shriners? Didn't play. The Nelson, he had a 26, which we saw that. And Waste Management. I was just curious for my own. I didn't run him against, just purely know where I'm kind of looking. Then last was Rafael Campos. He almost, came in behind Joel Damon, I believe, at Corrales. Let me go check that. Yeah. So he was up there fighting. He had this kind of nice run on the island courses here at Puerto Rico Open and Corrales. Then kind of, a miscut fiasco. I pulled him up purely. As you can see, from a birdie perspective, he's been, making the birdies. I knew that he, came in 2nd at Corrales. He gets his opportunities, driving distance pretty solid, and he's at bare men. So if for some odd reason you build a lineup when you're like Kokrak, DeChambeau, Wolf or whatever, 3 of the top guys, Rafael Campos could be a play to make that kind of lineup. So, okay, that's it from the analysis on the players that I'm looking at. Last, let's go look real quick at weather. Of course, I'm jumping over to Windfinder, free on the internet. Check it out. If you are doing showdowns or building your teams, I always highly recommend it. I'm pulling from the Detroit City Airport, which is kind of funny that that airport's been closed for a while. Detroit City Metro is our main airport, but they're still pulling wind and weather data. So it's the closest point to where this course is located. And if we look at Thursday, it looks like, again, possibly a little bit of rain in the afternoon. You're going to get wind later at night, but nothing to write. You might, again, I don't think you're going to have that big need to do the morning AM guys. It is POA. I mean, I guess if you went with the green kind of theory that you're going to have better greens in the morning. But you can see, I think the one thing that I'm going to keep an eye on is this Friday morning weather. Typically we don't get a lot of wind. I mean, where that course is runs off a pretty large river that connects from Lake Erie to Lake Huron. So depending which way, you can get some wind that way, but it's, by far not a coastal. It's not on Lake Michigan. So there's nothing super concerned, but it does look like, you're going to have winds gusting up in the 20s in the morning. So on that one, if I do showdown, I might try to fade to the later tee times. Saturday looks fine. Nothing to talk about. And Sunday, maybe rain after the tournament's done. But so right now, it looks like the course will dry out a little bit, except for this possible, maybe some rain on Thursday. I think that's enough from a weather update. Let's go wrap this up. And you know what? I did not cover, and I've been kind of missing this. From a fade perspective, if you're just curious, I'll tell you right now, I'm fading Reed. There was a presser with him where how I took it was he's been playing a lot of golf, and it's hard to stay focused and excited about, each and every swing and tournament. Of course, these guys are, get up for it. I'm kind of shocked he's playing here, to be honest. Definitely going to be fading Reed. I'm fading Webb. He's, as far as I understand, still dealing with some back issues. The guy has not been playing well. The putter's not been well. I mentioned in the previous show, I am a Webb fan, but he's not been, his 2021 season has been kind of junk. So I am off Webb. Hideki, could definitely get super hot and streak, get those birdies going. It's really, as we all know, it's all the putter with him. So those three guys right there at the top are faded in my DFS plays. Sungjae M, he's just been, you can't really point a finger on what he's going to stink at next. It seems like one thing's on, one thing's off. Where he was kind of a solid player all the way around, it was sometimes the putter. Bubba, I don't know what to make of him, but I'm just letting you know I'm not really playing him or both these guys. Jason Day, just not my cup of tea for a while, or Ricky Fowler. Now, Ricky Fowler, I think one of you guys on the committee said it, that he could possibly win this thing. He could do very well here, but just not the guys that I'm playing. Trying to think of anybody else that I'm kind of not super excited about. Phil, I just don't play. I'll probably also not play a lot of Doc Redman. I think that, I think a lot of people, he's going to be kind of chalky just because, he's had that second place here 2 years ago, but he can get hot on these kind of courses. So that's probably the guys that, just so you know, from the uppers that I'm fading, if you are curious. Okay, let's go wrap this up. All right, with that said, my top 5 value plays are going to be, of course, Mito Pereira. I'm just hoping like heck this pays out from a betting perspective, and from a DFS, he could be the sneaky, or it could be a total bust. As I mentioned, he played in the Puerto Rico Open, missed the cut. He also played, I think, in the 2019 U.S. Open and missed the cut, but I don't care about that. All I care about is this guy's been in Fuego. These are the kind of courses, and also the field that he's playing against. Could be, I see no reason why he can't do very well here. Going off the Guido Migliozzi kind of theory that, hey, if they're showing life, man, and they're running hot, I don't think there's any reason why you don't play them. Patty Kazire. Now, you can come up with a lot of reasons why not to play Patty, but I'm sticking with it. What I've known over the time of doing DFS is that, you ride. So I was on him before he even had his hot streak, and rode him during the hot streak, and then you keep riding him a little bit. And then as soon as you jump off, he's going to do well. So I'm giving him one more chance from a betting perspective and a DFS perspective to shine here. And if the putter gets hot, man, the guy will go low, as everybody. Sebastian Munoz, all in all, I think he's just a solid player. And same thing, he can get super streaky with the putter. I like him more, to be honest, from a showdown perspective for like Thursday showdown or first round leader. But in this field, on this course, he could definitely have a top 10. Who knows? So we'll see. Satoshi Kodaira just running hot, and I'm just hoping he stays hot. That's as simple as I can put that. Hopefully that putter stays hot. Worst case, again, a good showdown play or a first round leader. And then last but not least, Vaughn Taylor, which I've never picked before, but I'm feeling it here. The guy can go low, get a lot of birdies from a scoring perspective. And that's it. That wraps up my before the lock. There was only one presser, as I mentioned, so nothing else that I gleamed. I told you about the withdrawals that are already out there. That, again, if you go on DraftKings, you're going to see those. And that's it, guys. So, hey, do me a favor. Again, if you like what I do, click the like button. And if you've not subscribed, keep me doing what I'm doing. Hit that subscribe button. I appreciate it. Also, become part of the community. I give a ton of credit to the people that do come and watch, and they provide a lot of information. There's some guys even I know that do a lot of betting in Vegas, and they'll give me tips that through the YouTube comments that I don't even see. So we always keep the information flowing here, and hopefully give us an edge. So if you're part of this community, I think, and some guys even stated that it's a super edge, even to the point of some people said they want to don't want me to get too well known because then they're going to feel like they're going to lose a little bit edge. So I appreciate those kind of thoughts and comments. Again, if I can help you from any perspective of one and done, I didn't mention that. If you've not used, maybe Wolf would not be a bad one and done here. I'm sure you've already used Bryson, and that's I wouldn't even think him. If I had to go off the cuff, like Emiliano Grillo might not be a bad one and done here if you haven't burned him. But stuff like that. Hey, hit me up on Twitter, DFS Golf Guru. If I can, help you with anything, give you my perspective for what that's worth, I will do that. All right, guys. Best of luck to us. I don't know how many people everybody's going to be kind of enjoying the 4th of July, but, it should be a pretty good tournament. It's a scoring tournament from a DFS perspective. I like the high scoring tournaments. That's just me personally. So we'll see how it goes. All right, guys. I'll talk to you later. And don't forget, tell me who you think is going to win the U.S. Open. I'm sorry, the Open. And get into the contest. $100 entry in the Million Maker could be pretty nice. All right, guys, take care.